Thank you for staying tuned to Tea or Coffee. And before we went on that break, we talked about how we are going to be talking about securing marital inheritance. And to do that with us on the show today is Mrs. Olayinka Adeyemi, Director, Office of the Public Defender. You're welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
So we're talking about securing marital inheritance, and we'd like to know, what is marital inheritance?
Well, marital inheritance will, I'll just describe it because for lawyers, definition is unusual. So it can be described as the inheritance a spouse, maybe assets or property, inherited by a spouse after the death of his or her partner.
Okay. What factors, determine what the marital inheritance should be?
Well, for marital inheritance, it will depend on the type of marriage contracted by the couple.
How
if
so?
It is customary marriage, the factors will be different. If it is marriage contracted under the law, if it is Islamic marriage, or even the person, the disease dying intestate. So all this governs what and how the inheritance will be shared.
It seems to me that men benefit from marital inheritance more than women do.
Absolutely. Under our present law. Under our present law, yes. When a spouse dies, the other spouse, particularly if the spouse that died is a woman, that is what the law, says. But I guess again that because of the way our culture is, that most of the time, from our own experience, the men will not want to share the property. It's just for the children, particularly where there are children. So that's what we have found to be.
Wait, I want to get it. Is it that these laws that are being put in place, different cultures and the likes, does it have a backing with the law? Like, is it allowed in the law? Is there a preparation for it in the law?
When it comes to the legality of it?
Where the law will come in is where the culture is repugnant to natural justice and good conscience. Of course, we can apply to law, for the fundamental human rights of the person, because whatever that is contrary to, natural justice and, good conscience, the law frowns at it. And under that, heading, we can get some relief for the woman. So there are some cultures that are like that, honestly speaking, but we thank God that things are changing in our judicial sector now, because the courts now see that some of this culture are not natural, and they are very, very much against
humanity, natural justice.
Yes, and against women mostly, and to undermine women. So the things are changing a little bit, because now even a woman can inherit her father's property. So things have been changing. And when you also come to divorce, I'm sure we want to talk about that as well. We are getting more judgment that is recognizing the contribution of the woman during the pendency of the marriage.
Okay, before I jump into, is getting judgment enough? Shouldn't we rather work on legislation to change the laws and ensure that, for example, in places where women are considered as part of the property, that should be outlawed. No one should be a property. We're not slaves. No one should be a property to another person, but we're not going there just yet. From the little we have said, it seems to me that if a woman really wants to take her marital inheritance serious, she should start doing something about it while both of them are alive. Is that the case?
Yeah. Yes.
Now, what steps can either of the parties, either the man or the woman, knowing fully well now that by customary law, the man stands to gain more? So let's talk about the more disenfranchised party, that's the woman. What steps should women take to ensure that, okay, at least I'm securing what I have? If we are doing partnership, a business of 50-50, I put all the money I have in this, you put all the money, and then you die, and then one family member says you have been willed to one younger family member, and
especially if it's mostly your hard work
and you know. So, what steps should be taken in that regard?
Actually, well, if we are talking about couples of nowadays, we will be looking at a situation where they are getting married properly. They're not doing it just under, you know,
traditionally.
Yes, but they're also going to registry, doing it under the Act. Incidentally, the law has provided for this. We have what we call anti-nuptial agreements. The usual prenuptial agreements that you hear about. So it's not coined, it's not designed for only celebrities. It is designed for everybody, so that some aspects of your life, you will have organized it. I mean, the assets, everything that you would like to have within your marriage, this can be put in the
agreement.
In the agreement. So it's provided for under the law. So although in some quarters it is looked as if you are having an agreement before you get married, are you planning to divorce later on? Do you conduct your life, you know, with the thinking that eventually the marriage will crash or something like that? But with what we see in the modern days now, I think it might even be good, because the person you married is not the person you are divorcing. So it's a different person entirely, and people change as time goes by. So so maybe that is what one can also advise, you know, young couple to do. I've done it for, you know, a couple of couples who
an anti-nuptial.
Yes, really, it wasn't before the marriage, but when they were gathering and, you know, getting more assets, they had to come to me and ask how would they share these assets and all that. So we had an agreement on the, you know, sharing formula and all that. So it is there for them. I commend their courage. The marriage is still on, so but I think it's just to give them peace of mind, you know, so what will happen to this property.
We would need you to differentiate between a prenuptial and an anti-nuptial, but before that, we need to open the phone lines. Okay, so this is what we want to understand. What is the difference between a prenuptial and an anti-nuptial?
Okay. The prenuptial is the agreements you enter before you even get married at all. So the no, ante is still prenuptial. So I'm just under our law is ante.
Okay. So it's the same thing.
It's the same thing as prenuptial, but postnuptial is the one you do after you must have gotten married.
How many people would be open to doing a postnuptial, though?
You can still do that. You can still do that. I mean, by the time you get into marriage, you have acquired lots of assets, and you feel that you need to secure your future. I mean, that can be done, although it's always very difficult. But during the divorce proceeding as well, this also can be done.
Now, there was something you mentioned that got me interested. You said postnuptial. And then I asked the question as to how many persons in Nigeria are even aware that they can do that. Talk more of being willing, you know, to be open enough to say, okay, let's do a postnuptial.
Unfortunately, things, when it has to do with property and the assets, I must say that women are mostly at disadvantage, position, because women are considered to be the vulnerable, part of the vulnerable group. So when we are talking about that, most women might not even know about that. And of course, even if men know about it, they won't want to talk about it because they have the upper hand in this marriage. So that is why you don't find it being talked about, whether prenuptial or postnuptial. It's not being talked about. It is only when the marriage, breaks down, and then issue of property now comes up. And even at that time, we have found out from a lot of women that, look, I don't even want his property. Only I want custody of the children. Let me just be able to take care of these children. But we usually say no. If you have contributed one way or the other to the property, why will you not want to have something? And we have been very fortunate in our cases that the courts will usually see with us. By the time we are able to prove certain things, you know, some of the property have been given to these women so that they do not just suffer in a marriage for 10, 20 years and then go empty-handed.
Okay, so, pardon me. Now, you have talked about, this is a two-part question, because earlier you talked about the mother, the children. Who are the beneficiaries of the marital inheritance? And what is the part that the in-laws and the family, the relatives, family members play as regards marital inheritance? Because you've already outlined that sometimes family members tend to, make life difficult for the spouse that has lost his or her husband or wife. So what is their part, and who are the other beneficiaries of marital inheritance?
Well, it will also still depend on the custom and the type of marriage that was contracted. Under the law, if a man dies intestate, the property is the business of the immediate family. And what I'm talking about, the immediate family is the wife, the children. So they except where there is a will, and then the man, the deceased says, give this to my brother, give this to my cousin, give this to my nephew. Every other thing is for the children and the wife. But unfortunately, under our custom, it is not so. In some custom, the woman will not even get anything, just like I said, and it will be so, in fact, it's even so much more,
painful.
Yeah, painful when the woman has no son.
We have a caller. This is Abibat from Kwara. Good morning, Abibat.
Good morning.
Good morning. This is Abibat calling back.
Yeah, thank you for calling.
I really love this topic, and then I would like to ask, especially the aspect of the husband dying and then the woman being willed out to, is it will now or be inherited by relatives and stuff? Is this really applicable in Nigeria? Why? Because I have someone that this has happened to. The lady went to report to the police, and then the police were like, it's a family matter. They are not supposed to. They were really maltreating this woman and threatening her to marry the husband's younger brother. So I want to know, this of prenuptial and prenuptial, is it applicable in Africa? Is it applicable in Nigeria? So that I can tell this woman. It's really a serious matter at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Abibat. Thank you for your question.
Okay. Yes. Prenuptial and postnuptial is actually provided for under our law. So it is really in Nigeria, but because it is not known to many people, so they don't even bother about it and all that. But she's talking about inheritance, here. Prenuptial and postnuptial is usually with living people. I mean, the couple whose marriage, has broken down. So that's when you talk about all that. For the inheritance, going to the police, it's unfortunate that the police is taking it so like that. I don't know whether they have any of this type of offices in Kwara State. If they do, like my office of the Public Defender or Citizens' Rights departments in the Ministry of Justice, they can usually go and report. And I'm sure even in Kwara State, they will have Administrator General and Public Trustee. There is a department usually under every Ministry of Justice. So they can also go to that office and make a report on this issue, and they will be able to assist them. Because our law is that where there is, custom that is not acceptable, that is inhuman, that is degrading, that is, contrary to fundamental human rights, it should not be allowed.
Let's drive this conversation towards divorce. In a situation whereby there was no prenup, there was no postnup, and of course a divorce were to occur, and maybe 2 children. But in the process of, the divorce process, because I read of a case of a woman who actually filed for divorce. And then the court was willing to divide her husband's property into 2. And then the husband said no, that she can't have access to it because he built it with his money. Now, the argument that was put forward was that the entire length of time it took you, over 10 years you've been married to this woman, you built your house in that process. This woman was giving you food, she was giving you peace of mind. You were able to, she gave you advice, she gave you, mental support and all of that. So you still owe her some. Now, the question is this, where there is no black and white or written down in black and white saying, this is it, this is not it, how do we handle that kind of situation? Where it's divorce, but there's no black and white saying that, okay, we built this together or we have this together, no document to prove anything.
Okay, the major thing is a discretionary thing under the law that rests on the court.
Okay.
It's on the judge, to determine, within the context of what has been brought before the court, the woman has contributed. In the past, it has always been like, show me physical evidence to say that you have contributed, receipts, of buying cement, of buying blocks, of buying, things like that, which you hardly ever get. As I said, a woman or a couple will not conduct their, affair as if they're going to get divorced eventually.
Yes.
So divorce is not something that we, usually plan for. So, but now the current trend has been that the court will look at several other things that the woman has done during the pendency of this marriage, which, to the belief of the court, has one way or the other contributed to the balanced lifestyle or, of the man and the family, for him to be able to acquire this property. As long as the property is acquired during the marriage, the court will always, tend to lean towards, giving her part of the property, particularly if there are children, and the custody of the children is to be with the wife. So, that will always take a priority. And indeed, in the law, it says that settlement of family property, the children should be the paramount interest in considering this.
Okay, so would you advise women to also write their wills? Especially when they have properties. Should they also write their wills?
Oh, yes. Yeah, absolutely. It's one of the very important things that anybody, not necessarily a woman, in fact, even man, everybody should do. Once you start acquiring assets, stock, property, landed property and all that, it is always good to write your will. You may change it, it's allowed, that you can change, amend as you acquire more. But I think for the sanity of the family, you do not know when you can leave. Both women and women I'm talking about. So it's always very good to have their will written. Things are changing